Hi there. Happy Libra Equinox. How's everyone doing? I'm just getting ready to do another Love Me chit chat with my good friend Nadine, so we're just going to wait for her to join us. So today's the Libra Equinox. We just had a new moon in Virgo, the second new moon in Virgo, also coupled with a solar eclipse. So that was yesterday. So we're feeling all sorts of energies right now, but I personally kind of woke up feeling like a new day kind of energy. So that's always good. We'll get into a little bit of the kind of delineate some of these energies, but yeah, I wanted to touch on, I did a video on Friday. I talked about like the energy feeling turbulent and kind of heavy and all of that. And we talk a lot about grief, especially on these chit chats. I feel like grief is something that no one is exempt from, and on various degrees, and we're always like moving through some sort of big or small grief. And a lot of times we, try to convince ourselves we're okay. And then that grief accumulates, and like what happens on the individual level ultimately impacts the collective. And what's going on in the collective right now, I know we're all feeling that, not just here in North America, but also across the pond. So there's just this, sense of energy right now that we can't ignore. And I always want to be talking about that, not to dwell in the space of grief, but to, if we're not addressing it, if we're not facing it, if we're not facing that truth of how we're feeling, we are resisting it. And resisting is keeping ourselves stuck in that. So it's not to dwell, but it's to move through grief and to acknowledge that we're human and we have emotions that come up, experiences that trigger that emotion, and that's okay. And it's okay if everything is like kind of up and down right now and all over the place. That's what happens when transformation, right before transformation. And we're in this energy, I think, of huge transformation. I think like a lot of the people that I follow, whether they, talk about energy in general or astrology going into 2025, said this was going to be a turbulent year, and they weren't wrong. I was sensing that myself. I had no idea the grief that I was going to be navigating this year, and like just kind of one thing after another. And so, like I said, we're all kind of moving through these things, but that grief, those pain points are what offer us a gift of transformation if we're willing to go into those, and to explore that and kind of unturn the stones and or see what's there. And so that's why we talk about this all the time, and talk about this out loud so that you can join that conversation and just know that you're not alone in that. And I feel like we're just in the throes of eclipse season. We just had the second one, like I said yesterday, solar eclipse. Solar eclipses are all about new beginnings. So is this Libra equinox. And from what I'm hearing, and I'm self-taught in astrology, so I'm kind of learning as I go. I'm open about that. I get things wrong. But what I do know and what I feel personally is this is like it, we go through seasonal changes all the time, but I feel like this is like none other. The placements that are here for this, that are simultaneously, sorry, said I did that again. The transits that are happening simultaneously, Saturn and Neptune conjunction in opposition to this Libra equinox is 0 degrees of Libra, 0 degrees of Aries is where that's happening. And I feel like that is like activating something for us, a new sense of way of being, a new world for ourselves. And so, oh, here's Nadine. Let me just see her here. View request. There you are. Can you see this time?
Yes, I can. I can see you
Awesome.
and hear you clearly. So hello, hello.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Pleased to be
That's
here
good.
chatting to you.
Yeah. As always, I was just saying because I wanted to kind of get into set the foundation for our conversation, and I was just talking about how we're in the throes of this eclipse season. Libra Equinox is today, and I feel like I was just saying I feel like this is an equinox, a change of season like no other. Like, and how like when we went into this year, kind of like people were talking about 2025 being a year of turbulence, and I know I felt that on a personal level. Hi, Rebecca. We see
Hello,
you. I see you.
Rebecca. Hello.
And so my point was is that like with like and that we talk about grief a lot, and grief is present in all of our lives in one way or another. Nobody is exempt from that. And if we can just take the time to acknowledge that, that's why we talk about it so much, not to dwell in the space of grief, but to talk about it and process allow ourselves to process the feeling so that we can move through it. And doing that is get what gives us like we're constantly transforming if we allow ourselves that opportunity. So this Libra equinox, I feel like, is a huge kind of turning point for us. I was saying that in my last video too. Like we're kind of like Libra, and it always happens at 0 degrees, and like so we're in this new beginning kind of energy, but and then the energy of Libra itself that calls us to bring balance, harmony. Libra is one of the most creative signs next to Pisces in the zodiac. So creativity and creative self-expression is big, beauty. There's also, I always talk about the positive aspects of a sign and how we can lean into them, but we also want to be conscious of some, we all like there's light and dark and everything. There's the contrast. So Libra can like while they like justice, they and to things to be fair and equal, there can that kind of breeds like a sense of people pleasing and
Mm,
indecisiveness and avoidance of conflict.
mm,
So those are the things just to be aware of, like when we always kind of are in those energies or surrounded in that when we're in a sign, and now we're entering into Libra. And I feel like these next 3 months are like a huge, like I said, it feels like something really big. And we've been talking about being on the cusp of this for a while,
mm,
and I feel like it's here. And it's also like we're in, like, because I also study numerology, and we're in a 9 year. And nine is completion. So this is why it feels so turbulent. It's like all of these things are coming up for review for us to finally face and be uncomfortable in that if it's uncomfortable, because a lot of times that's why we haven't faced it before. And then through that, once we can get through that discomfort, on the other side of that is where we activate this new life that I feel we are on the cusp of. We've been feeling it, and I feel it
mm,
personally.
mm,
um it's also a time of like I was emotional all weekend. I don't know how you've been feeling, but and I
mm,
couldn't even really pinpoint why, like
mm.
just tears streaming for
Yeah,
whatever reason.
yeah, yeah. And it is something, isn't it? We've talked about this quite a lot, how we go with those emotions, and we know that, however we feel, it will pass, it will change, there is a reason for it and that kind of thing. But sometimes I don't know about you, Trish, but sometimes I just don't want to. Sometimes I just want to go back to the old ways and that kind of thing. I know that's not possible for me anymore. I can't go back to what I used to be like, avoiding these things and not feeling
Hmm.
everything. And I know that's good, but sometimes I just go, oh. So we're on this path, aren't we? We're on this
Yeah.
growth journey, however you want to look at it. There is something big going on. We feel it massively. I'm
Hmm.
sure everyone does in some shape or form. There is a collective feeling, isn't there? And um, it, it's sometimes, isn't it, hard to just go, oh, but Rebecca, bless you, yeah,
Rebecca,
yeah,
yeah, she
hi,
says
yeah, there we go.
unexplained crying for a
It's
week.
so,
I hear you. Yeah, I see
yes,
you.
yes,
I
so,
feel you.
so, so, so feel that too. And there's a bit of me going, crying. I do my gentle questioning a lot, and what am I crying about? What's that? What the emotion comes up? And I've stopped that a little bit now, going, it is what it is. There's
Hmm.
emotion comes out when it comes out. I was walking around the woods the other day, and something just tears started coming, and I was walking around the woods, but I
Yeah.
thought, I don't know what it was. I felt it was a sort of love emotion kind of thing, something
Hmm.
nice in a way. But there's still tears, and I'll go with it. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to. It is the way that I'm feeling. It's coming out, coming out of my eyes. That's what happens, isn't it? Processing, if you like, without having to do hard work with it. So much as we know it's about being brave, courageous, keep going, we know that it's all good. There's also a bit where we can lighten up maybe and just go, just let it be, flow, let it do what it needs to do without the hard work, because I'm quite conscious of actually saying a lot of the time it's hard work, it's painful, it's you've got to be brave and that kind of thing. And I do want to share that message as well. Sometimes it doesn't have to be hard, and maybe I make it a bit harder than I
Mm-hmm.
need to. So just going with it and just go, it's okay to cry. It's okay, there's three of us here now going, we've been crying a lot lately. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what's meant to be happening. Maybe,
Yeah.
it's okay to do that. And to give people permission to go, just cry. We don't need to question it. We don't need to heal anything, make anything right. Just do what you feel like doing, and it will pass. And that's the other thing, isn't it? It wasn't for me, as I say, my outburst in the woods was not something that I felt sad about or whatever. I didn't ever find a reason for it. It just was an emotion that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it came, it went, whatever, and I don't really know what that was about, but it doesn't matter. So that was an experiment for me to go, let's see if I can just make this easy and not make it hard work.
Yeah.
And it was easy. So, and again, it reminds me of my time working with little children where they would have every emotion, just let it happen. They didn't question anything. They just went with it. One minute they were enraged, next minute they were having a tantrum, then they were crying, then they were laughing and, hugging. And so maybe, to just be like that and not have to question it and not have to go, oh, that's because of this and this is what I need to do about it. You see what I'm trying to say? Trying to make
Yeah.
it a bit
And
easier for people.
And I think that that's the beauty of the experience is to just we don't have to try to analyze it in the moment or understand why it's happening. The point is to not resist that. And
That,
it's
yes,
like
yes,
you said, you don't even know why, it felt like a sense of love. I don't know how many times in the last week I cried and I was like, but it was out of gratitude. It wasn't out, or,
yeah,
so I had something I could, that was what was coming up for me. I wasn't even thinking of anything specifically, but then in the next moment, I was crying because of loss or
yeah,
grief. So
yeah,
it's it can be all over the place, and it's okay to allow ourselves when we do that, then we're not carrying that emotion because we don't
yes,
realize how
yes,
many times we say, okay, now's not the time and place to be crying.
yeah,
So I'm going to tuck that, turn on a happy song or whatever and try to get myself out, snap myself out of it. But then we bury that somewhere, and that ends up building and accumulating and causing disease in our body. It weighs us down literally, energetically.
yeah,
We operate from that place that we don't even realize because all of our
yeah,
behavior is subconsciously driven, or most of it is. And
yeah,
so,
yeah,
um, and it's such a good point that you bring up that when we're feeling this and this time especially because I mean, we talked about a little bit before. There's so much going, and I kind of alluded to it in my video on Friday about this feeling of turbulence right now on the collective level. And, there's political unrest. There's political unrest in the UK where you are. There's political unrest in the United States and even Canada. But,
yeah,
so it's we, and we're feeling it. We can't ignore that. We can't ignore what we're feeling anymore. I think we're kind of, it's truth facing time in so many different ways. It's not just truths are being revealed by the powers, about lies and all that. We're not going to get political here, but what I'm trying to say is, or go in that direction, but it's also truth facing time for ourselves. And the best way that we can do the best thing we can do for ourselves or do right now in this moment is to tend to the inner world, our inner world, and take care of ourselves and worry about that, not worry about that, but tend to put our focus on that because
yeah,
that is how we change the collective. All of this big stuff that's happening now happened at the individual level first with a small
mm,
group of people
yeah,
or one person or what have you. Everything happens. It's that ripple effect. And so, and it's not to that's why I wanted to bring that in because, you know, we're all humans and going through a human experience and feeling some very intense emotions lately. And a lot of times we're doing a lot of this. You and you did this and this side and left and right. And it's it's above that what we're dealing with. It's beyond left and right. It's beyond black or white. It's like there's a bigger picture here,
Yeah.
but the best thing we can do is to go internally because there's a wellspring of wisdom within us. And to be guided by that inner
Mm.
authority, I think is what we're being called to do right now
Yeah.
on this Libra equinox. This feels like an activation of a new life for ourselves if we want to create that, and how do we want to create that? I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just what's coming up and out right now, and
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
exciting at the same time as emotional, like, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. And it is as well. I think that to remember that, we're going through a process of change. That comes with
Hmm.
loss and grief and sadness and all kinds of emotions. And that's okay. But I think where you touched on the political and the bigger picture in the world, it is quite scary, isn't it? I personally choose not to really watch the news because I don't really understand it.
Same.
I
Same.
also go, it affects me, and I go, okay, and I do what I really want to do, and I'm finding myself inclined to do. Yes, there's all this, maybe I go, what can I do to make things right? And everything. I can't, it's too big a picture. So I do go within. I find naturally, I just go, all I'm going to do is worry about my shit. So excuse my language, but I just go,
No, that's exactly it.
yeah,
That is it.
I'm just gonna do me, and
Yep.
that will have to do. And
Hmm.
actually, I get quite a lot of comfort from that. And again, I'm saying this and sharing this because maybe other people can try that and go, don't overwhelm yourself with the big picture because that is out of our hands. Like you said, that started on an individual level. We are powerful beings, and also remembering, this wisdom that
Hmm.
actually, if we look after ourselves properly, then actually that is enough. And if we do look after
Yeah.
ourselves properly, then, like you say, those ripple effects are out there. We affect other people massively just by being ourselves. And that is something that is really powerful and actually something that can be a bit scary in itself. We
Uh,
can do that. We can do that. But why not?
yeah.
Focus on ourselves. I always say to people, all that matters is how I feel. I say, get people to repeat that back to me, and
Hmm.
that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. But if we just go, I just want to make myself feel good in this moment and tune
Hmm.
in to what you need to do. And that normally is a bit of self care, which we all need
Yeah.
to do a bit more of. And I love that. So I revert back to that when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm feeling a bit scared and confused and everything. And that serves me
Hmm.
personally well. But like you just said, and I hope people understand that, that has that effect on helping other people too. So if we could all just mind our own business and get on with our own
Yeah.
stuff, maybe, we are all doing something magical and wonderful for the whole of civilization. And that could be, it could be the way forward, couldn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, I feel like that is such a good point. Like you said, there's so many nuggets in what you just said, but you said like kind of like just do you kind of thing, and but then you said just be yourself. Like
Yeah.
it and that is the key. Like authenticity is one kind of energy
Mm,
that's being
yes.
called in now,
Yeah.
but just stop. I think when we get uncomfortable with what's going on in the world, we like to finger point and blame and
Yes.
accuse and
Yes.
all of the
Yes.
things, but we're not looking at the person in the mirror and saying, what am I doing to help the situation?
Mm,
And I don't care who you are, we all have shit. Like you said, we're going to just say it. We all
yeah.
have wounds from our past,
Yeah,
big,
we do.
small, whatever. You could
Mm,
have a bunch of small things that happen and say, "Oh, I didn't have a traumatic childhood, so I'm perfectly fine," and blah blah blah. Like, and then, but no, everyone has their own path and experience and trauma and grief and loss and all of the things, heartbreak. But like it shows up in different ways, and
mm,
that is what, when we try to ignore or avoid any discomfort or any feeling bad, or that's where we're operating from, that place. And that's where this, well, they did this and they did that. And instead of like looking at what I'm doing, what can I do?
mm,
How can I,
mm.
when we heal ourselves, we heal each other by just
We do. We
energy,
do.
because we're all connected energetically,
Yeah.
even though if we can't visibly see that. There,
Mm,
we all have the same light within us, I believe, and in a spiritual
mm,
sense, like we all are connected in that way,
yeah.
energetically. And so, and we also not only heal like on the external or the external world, but we heal our lineage. Like, so it
We
doesn't
do.
matter if we had personal trauma. There's
Mm.
trauma that came before us. There's
Yeah.
things that happened in our lineage that, for whatever reason, our lineage didn't have the capacity to face and heal. And now we are the ones that we've been waiting for to do that. And
Yeah.
so once we start doing that, we can't, like, and you and I know we talk about this, and I think you said this in earlier, like you kind of want to go back to that old self and kind of,
Mm.
I'm not so sure I want to do this because it's hard. It's not
Yeah.
easy, right? We want to kind
Mm.
of revert back to the old self because, like, well, like almost like ignorance is bliss. Like now, you
Yes.
don't know what you
Yeah.
don't know at that point.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but it's like, yes, and yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's painful at times. Yes, we're going to cry and feel sad. But we're also going to feel like, the fact that I just got chills. The fact that you said, I feel like reverting to my old self, what does that say? You have
Exactly.
transformed. You have
Yeah.
transformed.
I've
So
moved
give
on. Yeah.
yourself like, applaud yourself, like
Mm.
have
Mm.
pride in the fact that you've come a long way, and you're you have a different way of being. Your world looks different than it
Exactly.
did before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so that is the beauty that's in that mud that we try to avoid. And I don't want to be
Mm.
speaking in cliches, but like that's what it is. It's like the mud to lotus kind of
It is.
transformation.
It
And
is, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're so right. It is that, I'm sort of going like, oh, I can't go back. I don't want to go back. And there is no going back. I'm
Mm,
here now as I am. I'm moving forward, and that's the way it is. So there is a little bit of, uncertainty. And I love when you said about the Libra and the balancing. And I had this real visual about balance, and it really, I don't think I've ever thought of it that way. I've just thought of it when you were saying it, that balance is constantly moving, isn't it? We're not still.
yes.
It's not about let's get the balance and we hold ourselves still. We're
No.
balancing. It's a balancing act all the time, isn't it? And I
Hmm.
love that. So I've only just realised that as we're talking, which is the power of
Hmm.
speaking out loud, isn't it? Having these conversations, which I love. But it is
Yeah.
that I am feeling, I'm constantly balancing my activity and rest. I'm balancing so much in my life and everything, balancing I think, but life is a balancing act, isn't it? And to feel that, it is okay to be out of kilter. It's probably normal to be a bit like that, all the time. I'm not
Hmm.
going to be even all the time. And that
Right.
is okay too, because again, that feels a little bit uncomfortable, but it's fine. Maybe I'm not aspiring to be evened out all the time. I'm going to be like this and like that. If you can't see people that are just listening. I'm
Yeah.
moving from left to right, so I'm doing the visual. But I do feel that again is okay. And you said earlier about, you touched on the grief and that kind of thing. And I'm doing, actually, I'm planning a grief workshop, the end of October, so that's quite a way off. But I know part of what I'm going to talk about, because when I work with people about grief, it's
Hmm.
about, we go through changes all the time. We feel grief and sadness and loss all the time, and we deal with it every day.
Yeah.
We deal with it. So to take some of that fear away from, oh my God, that anticipatory grief, I'm going to be so sad. If this happens, I'm scared of change. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that, which I feel a lot. But
Hmm.
then when you actually just get it in perspective, you go, it's okay. Of course, I'm going to be a bit scared of the new me. I don't know who she is yet. I don't know what's going on, and there's going to be sadness and loss because I'm letting go of the old stuff. But all of that is moving. All of that is this balancing act that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it is okay, isn't it? And grief carries so much weight, the word, doesn't it? I'm sad, I'm grieving, I'm lost, bereaved, all that kind of thing. But to recognize that actually we are going through that every single day. We're always
Yes.
losing something and gaining something and moving forward and balancing and doing all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. It is what we do all the time. And actually to recognize that we're really good at it. We're very good at it.
Yeah.
Because we don't think we are, do we? We go, oh, I can't cope with change. I don't like change. I say that. Well, I
Hmm.
do like change. I make it happen a lot of the time, and we step into it and we go with it because it's day to day what we do. And like when you just said about that Libra and that balancing, and I had that real
Yeah.
visual, I thought that's life all the time. We're never, when we walk, when we move, we're balancing. Our bodies are good at it. We're really good at it.
Hmm.
Every muscle works, and if we don't fall over all the time, hopefully. But it's all the time, isn't it? That balancing and the movement. And it's quite magical, isn't it? That we do it
It
all the time.
is.
We do it all the time. This is how wonderful we are as human beings,
Yeah,
and the planetary aspects, like you say, the numerology blows my mind, but I know it's all there and it all makes sense, really. But I just think it's all there for us, isn't it? And
it
if,
is. And
if
that's,
we,
yeah.
yeah, letting go of that resistance, like you say, sorry to butt in, but you said all that, just go with it, and it will all be okay. We don't have to understand it totally. We definitely don't have to resist it. Just go with it, and everything makes sense and works out. So we've got a little
Yeah.
message here, haven't we? So let me see if I can read it. Rebecca, thank you. We deeply desire to return to a time it felt easy, or was it easy? Yeah.
Yeah.
For what we now know now, who we are now, can this feel easy? Yes, that's powerful, isn't it? Thank you, Rebecca. That's really powerful.
It is. I think maybe we'll
Yeah.
look back in 6 months and say,
Hmm.
well, maybe it was easier than I thought it was. And I think we
Yeah.
get in our heads too much about it. And like
Mm.
you said, bringing in the idea of balance and it's not to like balance and then stay it stationary in that balance. It's to allow yourself to go with the ebbs and flows of life. And
Mm.
I
Mm.
equate it to a dance of life and
Yeah.
to look
Yeah.
at it from through that lens, like, it's beautiful in its sadness and its joy and all the emotions that we feel in and out of that. We're constantly weaving.
Yes.
And I
I
feel
love that.
like that is such a beautiful way to look at it and to a reminder for ourselves that yes, it can feel uncomfortable at times, but everything is temporary. Everything is
Yes.
temporary.
Yeah.
So we're not going to stay stuck there. And I think that's like the fear around allowing ourselves to process our grief is that we're afraid we're going to stay stuck there. And we're
Yes.
not. We're
No, we're not.
not.
No,
And
no, that's
especially if
the
you make this
reality.
a regular practice and you have tools and people you can lean into to help support you through that, like the work that we do and all of that and your beautiful calmer self method and the grief workshops and all the things that you do and just do for other people, but you do that for yourself too, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do that as well. And
Yeah.
we have to again start with ourselves. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
the invitation right now, I think, that we are
Yeah. And
here
I think
because
that,
yeah.
yeah, invite people to do that. Like, I love the way you
Hmm.
say it's a bit of a dance, because that gives it a lovely light-hearted feeling, doesn't it? And that's not scary. Let's just dance into it, flow with it, because that is, let's look at life that way. Why not? Because it
Yeah.
is, otherwise it can get so heavy and it can get scary and everything, and it doesn't have to be. So it is how we look at it, isn't it? And I feel you touched on, your work, and I know you support people and help people going through changes, and grief comes into that, doesn't it, and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
you are there to support people, and I know people
Yes.
can find you. This is Trish Campbell on your website, can't they? Find the beautiful work
Yes.
that you do,
Yeah.
but also, you help so much with your writing. I've got your poetry book here. Obviously, there's your original book, and you've got a
Yeah.
meditation book as well. But there's a poem here that talks about change, and actually, it's really interesting because I picked up on dance, and it's life's infinite dance. And I just
Oh,
feel that this will, I think, really sum up what we've been talking about in a beautiful
I
way.
love that.
As I love your poem, it just works. I'm getting chills talking because we don't plan
Me
this
too.
that way, or do we? We
No, we
don't plan
don't.
this. But I've
Oh,
just been saying that, and it fits perfectly, doesn't it? And there we go, the emotions coming up again from both of us. So this is what it's all about, isn't it? But if I may, I'd like to read it out because it's perfect to what we've just been saying, isn't it? So
it
so
is
bear
perfect.
with me, and as I say, this is from the poetry book, and it's called Life's Infinite Dance. So it's beautiful, beautiful. So here we go. Change is our only constant. We might meet change with immediate resistance in our bodies, minds, and hearts. Whatever or however that is showing up in within, it is all dependent on a perception of the unknown. But if we can, for a moment, look at it in a different way, the concept of change as our world in its own creative expression, life's infinite dance. We are all part of it. We are all players in this collective creative expression. As our environments change, as we change, as people arrive and exit, experiences come and go, enters in the opportunity to create heaven on earth, to not wait and mark time for our arrival in heaven until we die, but to actually bring heaven into our daily experiences, expressing our soul's desires through our own individual creative expression. We create just that. All of it is life, this act of change in real time, empowered from within, letting go of any resistance so as not to resist life itself. The possibilities are infinite, just as we are.
Mm,
Oh, it's so beautiful, so beautiful. And again, you've put those words down. That is all what we've just been saying in this beautiful poem, isn't it? Who knew?
yeah.
And I don't know how long ago you wrote that, but that's just what we've been talking about, isn't it? And
Yeah,
it's
that was 4 or 5 years
beautiful.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So that's in your poetry book, and I just, it blows me away, because you write that and it says so much, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking now for what, I don't know, 25 minutes, something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
then I could have just read the poem.
Boom.
Could have just read the poem.
I was not expecting that emotion, and yeah,
But
like it's so
it's
powerful.
real, isn't it?
You're
And
amazing, and yeah.
I
Oh.
don't know, I've said it before, I don't know how, I'm reading out your words and everything. It's going to hit you emotionally. It hits me emotionally because they're so powerful. And I love, as you know, I
Mm.
love getting the opportunity to say it out loud because that adds weight, doesn't it? So I was getting chills all through that. So beautiful. Thank you so much for writing
Yeah. Oh, that's
that.
beautiful, Nadine. Thank you so much for tying things up with a bow like that, like so beautifully. And I love how like this just flows naturally and always like just we're so in sync, and yeah,
Magical,
love
isn't
having
it?
these
Yeah.
conversations with you. So people can find you on your Calmer
Yes.
Self YouTube
The
channel.
Yeah, the easiest way is to look at my YouTube channel. All the connections there. These chit chats go on there, so you can look back at others
Hmm.
because we've been doing this a long time. We talk about everything, and I just feel that it really is. This we are so lucky to have our connection. It all started these chit chats, didn't it? Because I was reading your book and I had
Hmm.
questions, and we started this. This has just grown and grown on its own, hasn't it? And I'm so
It
grateful that we
has.
do this. But I say to every, I've looked at that poem. That poem has been speaking to me all week, well, not all week, but over
Mm,
the weekend, it's been speaking to me. I've said to read it out today. That really helped us today, didn't it? It did a bit of healing. It did a bit of work for us. That's what I love. I can look at your books, the poetry, wherever I look, and something speaks to me. So, and how many years have I had your
mm.
books?
Thank
They're
you
still
for.
there. They're still relevant. So I encourage everyone to go out and get the books if they haven't got them already and use them. They're there for us. They're magical. So thank you for creating them
Thank
for
you
us.
for that, Nadine.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
always for bringing this idea. And I'm so glad we're doing it years later. I think it's 3.5 going on 4 years
Think it
of
is.
doing
Yeah.
this, which is
Amazing.
crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
always love chatting with you and
Thank you.
everything that
Yeah.
we get to share. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for those
Thank
who have
you.
joined us live. And
Yes,
if you
lovely to
didn't,
see some
yeah.
comments. Yeah.
And for those that are watching the replay, hopefully you watched this far, and we'll see you
Yeah.
next time. Lots
Thank
of
you so
love.
much. Thank you.